Welcome, Sandra. I think it's 12:05, and I think we have to start. People will join us when we have only 1 hour, so sometimes we have a lot of things to say, a lot of contributions, but the time is very short. So let's start now. Yes, you know me. My name is Agam Bianda. I'm the Community Engagement Manager working with Mana Food since 2021. It's 2 years now. And I will be hosting this session. I'm here with Anna Rose, who is helping me to put everything together. And we have our co-host, Rochelle from Independence Now, who will be
Hello,
introducing
everybody.
herself shortly. Yes. So Break and Break is a monthly conversation that we hold every third Wednesday of the month. And we are trying to create a safe place where people can share what they hear from the community about food insecurity. And we know that solutions start with conversation. So when we talk about something, we can all together find the solution for some of the things that we notice or we witness in the community. And today's topic is around disability and food access. And I will let Anna Rose and Rochelle introduce themselves before we move forward. Anna Rose, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for introducing everyone, Agar. My name is Anna Rose Kennedy. I'm the Community Food Rescue Coordinator with Mana Food. I just started supporting Agar with Breaking Bread in the past month or so. And we're really excited for today's session. And I'm excited to get to know people and learn more.
Thank you, Anna Rose. Rochelle?
Hi, I'm Rochelle Harrod. I'm with Independence Now. I'm actually the independent living specialist for Prince George's County, but I've been with the company for 14 years and am actually well versed in both counties. And we have a huge population in both counties that we serve that suffered dramatically due to the pandemic, due to the issue of food insecurity. So today I want to, shed light on a few statistics and give you all an update on what's going on now with the changes now that some of the COVID policies have now ended. And since COVID is no longer considered a pandemic, as you all know, food stamp rates have gone back to normal, but our folks are still having technical difficulties. So I'm hoping to cover a little bit of all that.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. And we are very happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to introduce himself or herself? Yeah, we have Michelle, a volunteer on the board of MG Food Council and Mana Food. Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for coming. Anyone else would like to introduce? Say something before we move forward? Or feel free to put your name and and tell us if it's the first time that you are joining this call on the chat box, and also how did you hear from us about this event? Thank you so much. So as I was saying, the topic for this session today is about disability and food access. And Rochelle is here to dig us into the topic and maybe looking to your contribution to maybe address some of the issues that disability community is having. Next month, we're going to have an in-person session here at MANA, and the session will be around community-supported agriculture. We will have a farmers market. I don't know if it's how you call it here at MANA, and I will be sending the invite out, and those who will accept the invite, I will put them down to attend the meeting in person in May. And the topic of June will be around transportation and food access. In July, we'll be talking about SNAP cut and community growth. So I will leave Rochelle now facilitating the session about disability and food access. Rochelle, you have the floor.
Wonderful. Thank you again for having me. So traditionally over the years, when we think about food insecurity, we think about the correlation of areas with food deserts or not having access to proper grocery stores and affordable food and vegetables based upon neighborhoods. Now, add to that being a person with a disability, and studies have found that emerging literature says that food insecurity and disability have been shown to be associated with higher risk of food insecurity, because most people with disabilities have more than one disability. And so the higher of number of disabilities a person has, I should say, and it leads to more insecurity issues food-wise, because when you think of a person with a disability, especially someone with a physical disability and or mental health, they need special medications, they need food diets. And during COVID, it was very hard to get access to those things because transportation even became limited during COVID. I remember using Metro Access during COVID, and they stopped doing the shared rides, so they were only riding one person at a time, and the hours became limited. So imagine not being able to get to the grocery store in that limited amount of hours of time and everything cut short. And then also having to deal with the lack of availability of quality of the grocery store in your neighborhood. And so one of the things that helped with that they did during COVID, of course, was they gave everyone a SNAP surplus of dollars to use for the household, which was fine. But then the issue became, if I can't get to the grocery store, how am I going to get my food delivered to me? So then services like Giant Delivers, which used to be Peapod, and Instacart and Top Banana had to step up their delivery practices to serve people with disabilities. And that was even a challenge, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because pre-COVID, those delivery services did not actively advertise that they accepted customers with EBT cards. And then it became an issue. How can I place an order for groceries if you don't take my EBT card? And we had to do a lot of advocacy throughout the whole state of Maryland, not just Montgomery and Prince George's County, but we had to do a significant amount of advocacy just to make sure that there was a button that people with disabilities could click, where they could use their EBT card to purchase things online and link it to the debit card so that everything could be delivered. So thanks to more advocacy, you now see that, and that's something that didn't change after COVID, which I think is awesome. So now when you go to Instacart or Giant Delivers, it'll tell you you can purchase this item online with your EBT card or EBT benefits accepted. That wasn't always fully advertised pre-COVID. And so now people with disabilities know that if they have a problem actually getting to the store if there's one close in their area, they can use Instacart or Giant Delivers or Safeway Delivers, because Safeway does it as well, to get things delivered with their EBT cards. And you also have to think about if, and this is an issue we're currently running into, if we have consumers that are diabetic that are dealing with the fact that we no longer have the COVID surplus in SNAP benefits, what am I going to do because I have this special diet and $19 a month in food stamps for a single person with diabetes isn't going to cut it. So then you have to think about, how am I going to ration my food? How am I going to utilize the best of what they give me? So a lot of times, and outside of this, I will share that I'm an elder in my church and I run the special needs ministry at Word of Faith Church in Riverdale. So what my pastor and I did with the outreach ministry is we have specific days where all of our parishioners can come, but we have a special heart for people with disabilities because my pastor is also a school counselor. He has a full-time job. So on those days, on Tuesdays and Saturdays, when we run the food pantry, when I can volunteer, when someone with a disability comes in, make sure they get an assistant to help them shop at our food pantry. All of our groceries are totally free. They don't have to pay anything. They just sign up for services. And a lot of the churches are doing that throughout Montgomery and Prince George's County and some of the surrounding counties. So one of the great things that I can say, that even though we have food insecurity issues and limited access in certain areas and things like that, there are food pantries that get items donated, and they're fresh items. They don't always have to be expired ones. I know, for example, my church has a partnership with Andrews Air Force Base, Whole Foods, and Wegmans through the Linda Benn Foundation. So a lot of this is partnership and connecting so that we can close the gap with food disparities for people with disabilities, and not just people with disabilities, but in general for individuals with families that have low income. And there might be not only just a disability issue, but a language barrier issue. So during the days we have the food pantry, for example, I'm noticing that some of the food pantries also now have interpreters to assist. And so these are some of the resources and services that we can utilize if we just work together, reach out, communicate. Partnership is everything when solving the issue of food insecurity. And it's really interesting because when I was researching the stats, they were saying that people with disabilities who have Medicare in particular, who have SSDI, have the greatest issue because Medicare sort of limited their benefits in their area. And the average age of people that were experiencing this particular issue was like 37, age 37 for women and age 49 for men, and up for that age group, because they were talking, when they think of Medicare and people with disabilities, for a woman, it was ages 37 through 65. And for men, it was 49 through 65. And so just imagine, you know, the seniors get help. They're covered by the area office on aging, and even they have limits. But just imagine the group of people that are not seniors that are still out there trying to find resources. And one of the things I liked during COVID that we had is that the 211 service, if someone called, they could ask them, where is food being delivered in my area and how can I get it delivered to me if I can't afford Instacart, if I can't afford Giant Delivers, if I can't afford Wegmans Delivery. So each of the counties, I don't know if you all utilize this, but each of the counties at one point were doing their own individual delivery service through the food pantries for like $5 if someone was on a fixed income. Meaning in our case, individuals with disabilities, SSI and SSDI. And that's one thing I wish they hadn't have ended, because unfortunately, in the time we live in, we have folks that still can't afford Instacart or Giant Delivers, just to give you an idea. So if you're a person with a disability, the barrier is not only the income, but it's also with some of these delivery policies. Like, for example, when you place an order on Instacart, the minimum order has to be $35, or else they charge you a small delivery fee, meaning above the regular delivery fee because the order is too small. So these are the things we need to look out for, that we need to help our consumers with, even if we refer them to the local food pantries instead of Instacart or Giant Delivers, if they have someone to help them. Because I just love that so many food pantries are popping up in the area that you can now, access one a little more by bus, and if you don't have Metro access, you can get a reduced fare on Metro with the reduced fare ID card if you're a person with a disability. I'm not sure if everybody knows that. But when we speak with our consumers and they talk about the various issues and challenges of food, we always ask them, what area do you live in? We can refer you to a local food pantry in your area. And if you are having trouble getting funds for groceries, some of the food pantries do actually also give out gift cards so that they can go to the store. And not only that, some of them are now also giving out clothing, because people are finding that as you have food insecurity, if you have someone coming that you serve, you might have what we call that a navigator, who might sit down and talk with the person about their other issues, and you'll find that there are all these issues that are correlated to food insecurity. So I just ask everyone on this call today as a service provider to listen with an open ear, to be aware. Always check for the things that your consumer might not say, because sometimes it's not about what they say. It may be their body language. Part of being an excellent service provider is not only listening, but if you have a rapport that you have developed with your consumers that you meet in person, that you may see on a regular basis, it's figuring out what they need before they ask. Now, technically, from our standpoint at Independence Now, we tell people to speak up and advocate for themselves. But if it's someone we've been working with for a while and they might be a little bit ashamed about their food insecurity issues, they might not want to say it out loud. But, just ask general questions as a whole and see what comes out, because you never know. With that open-ended question, you might get a full picture of something you didn't have before. A question I ask is, how's life treating you? How was your week? What's really going on? I'm here and I care. So, you can tell me if you just need to vent. That if I can't help you, I'll refer you to someone who can. So, start out with those general basic questions, because a lot of times the food insecurity issue is related to, for example, the limited income, and they had to make a choice between having enough money to buy food versus having enough money to pay the copay for their medicine. How many of us have had to make that hard choice? These are the kinds of issues that food insecurity causes. And so I just want you to be open and aware as you're serving people with disabilities that these things might come up. And so you always want to give them the best resource, especially the ones with the fresh fruits and vegetables. And some of the local farmers markets, like you mentioned earlier, Akbar, they do now take EBT cards. So someone can go to the farmers market when it's open and say, I have my EBT card. Can I buy fresh peaches with my card today? Can I buy apples today? Can I buy grapes? Can I buy cucumbers? And so it's an awesome thing now that it's become more acceptable and more common. And I know at the one in Riverdale closest to me, they're open every Thursday from like 3 to 7. And you can trade in some of the funds on your EBT card for tokens and build up your tokens so that if you ever run short on money, you can take your tokens to the market and still get something every week. So these are the different things the local food pantries are doing to help with the food insecurity issue, so that if you have a consumer that can't get to the grocery store or can't get their stuff delivered, you always want to offer it as another option. And also, I'm finding that it's more reported among people with disabilities as a whole, because even though among people with disabilities, we are the largest unspoken for minority group, you have to remember that combines many races. Because disability crosses color, gender, creed, race, ethnic group, language, but we literally are the largest unspoken for minority group. And it seems like the people that have multiple disabilities suffer the most, because they are the ones that again have to make that choice. Do I have enough money for my medication a day? Do I have enough money for food? Or I might not be able to pay for my eyeglasses with my copay because I'm worried about where my next meal is going to come from. So when you interview someone about their food insecurities, you want to make sure you get a snapshot of the whole picture. Sometimes it's not about the statistics, but it's more about knowing the anticipated need of the person you serve, because they have multiple disabilities that may cause confounding issues. And, you know, there are even food pantries now that also have a clothing closet. And so the more we go out there and do research and visit some of these places for ourselves, the more we can refer our consumers to and support them in eradicating individual food insecurity issues. And maybe they might share with a friend, and that can help. It's all about the network you want to surround them with, because community resources are everything. And when you become like the neighborhood one stop for community resources, people will share more, because they'll say, so-and-so gave me this information about food, and I also got a new jacket because they had a clothing closet, and I was able to sign up for the next week, and they gave me referrals how to get my glasses, so I'm saving money. So like when someone comes in with me and they talk about the glasses issue, I always mention Prevention of Blindness Society, because they give glasses and do free eye exams to individuals of low income at a discount. And they serve DC, Montgomery, and Prince George's and Northern Virginia, by the way. I didn't know if anybody was familiar with them, but they do an excellent job, by the way. So you just have to remember that although food insecurity is the main issue we're talking about today, it's so much connected to those other issues that nobody's going to want to talk about the other issues until the food insecurity piece is covered first. But again, we have to know how to listen as service providers. As my old counseling supervisor used to say, learn to listen with your ears and your heart and not your brain, and everything will be just fine.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rochelle. It's you said everything. I hear things about transportation. I hear about people having not only one disability, but one or more. and you focused on people who are going to the pantry, but I didn't hear something about those who are at home and who may not know how or may not have the ability to cook their own meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so with that, we, for example, here at Independence Now, we do a cooking class virtually every third Thursday, or sometimes it's an in-person event, but we like to change it up a little bit. Now, unfortunately, we don't go into homes, but we do have referrals for outside cooking classes if they want more hands-on instruction. Now, that is something we did do pre-COVID. We did it here at the office, but we're considering doing it in person again, but at a later date. Have to get approval from Shannon as to when we're going to be doing that. But I want to say that they're more than welcome to join any of our cooking classes that we do virtually via Zoom. I'm usually the one that does the instruction on the class, whether it's here in the office or sometimes if it's a complicated recipe, I may even do it from my home and show folks how to improvise. And also, there are different places, like I want to say there is a organization in Northern Virginia called the Fighting Blindness Society. And sometimes they do in-person cooking classes for individuals that are blind, and you don't have to be a Virginia resident. I know cooking classes were also offered by Columbia Lighthouse at one time, but it just depends because everybody is doing their own COVID protocol. But as far as I know, there are very few organizations that come into the home at this particular moment. But if you're really looking to learn something hands-on, like I said, you're more than welcome to join our group, for example. In May, we're also going to try to do another gardening session. Did you know that the University of Maryland has a food and nutrition program that does a gardening component for people with disabilities? And they have an actual facility where you can learn how to garden, and they give you supplies and you can take it home and start your own garden, whether it's from your backyard or your windowsill or your patio.
Thank you for that information. I would like to give Sabrina time to ask or contribute to the conversation.
Sure.
Well, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you, Rochelle. That was amazing. Thank you for bringing up so many good points. You bring up so many good ideas about the importance of integration, and thinking about food insecurity is just one of many issues that people may be struggling with. I was wondering if you could maybe speak to, you talked about, the importance of having the conversation with people. And sometimes that's a really challenging conversation because people feel sometimes a little on guard, or maybe a little, sort of scared to talk about. Do you have an example of like a script that, like, if I was trying to talk with someone, just to normalize the conversation? So for example, something like, we find that many of our clients may be, dealing with, food insecurity as well as other issues. Perhaps that's an issue for you. Is there anything else you'd like to share about that with us, just to kind of take the stigma away? Do you use a script for sort of those conversations, or do you recommend a kind of script to bring that into the conversation so people feel more comfortable?
Well, I'll say honestly, because I've done it so many years, I usually just go from the heart and start with a basic question. How are you? Did you put on anything of your favorite color today? Or if you're meeting a person for the first time, what is your favorite color? What do you like to do for fun? what was life like pre-COVID? What is it that you miss that you still wish that you could do now? You want to start with a fun icebreaker. What's your favorite candy? Chocolate or gummy bears? Are you a dog or a cat person? Just make it fun, because the fun icebreakers will help you melt the wall for when you get to the serious stuff. That's my best recommendation. But I'll see if I could find a general script for you to give you an idea. And I'll definitely send it to Akbar. And I'm going to email a copy of the articles that I used to talk about some of the statistics.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Mhm.
Any other contributions?
Well, I want to chime in and just also echo Sabrina's gratitude for Rochelle for sharing all of that. I came in a little bit late, so I may have missed some of this, but I have wondered what organizations like ours can do to, we all, our little quip, right, is that we offer good food and welcoming spaces. And I think we have to be trying to create a welcoming environment for everybody, no matter what their identities are, what situations they're in, etc. So I often think, are we creating the most welcoming environment we can for people with disabilities? Granted, as you stated, like that's a big group of people with lots of different identities within that one community. But do you have any like big pieces of advice you can give to organizations, social service organizations like ours, and anything that you all do at Independence Now that has proven really helpful in terms of creating that welcoming environment for people with disabilities who are utilizing the service?
Warm greeting and a warm handoff, because remember, and this is in general, basic human rights. You never know the pain behind someone's smile, because you never know what they're going through. And everybody culturally, for example, does not do the handshake, but it's how you say, good morning, how can I help you? How can I assist you today? If you start with those basic questions, it opens a lot, because a lot of times when people come in to be served, everybody doesn't have a friendly attitude, and it's all about the tone. And when you set the tone, they will set a precedent for the level of the, okay, she spoke to me really nice this morning, so maybe I really can talk to her about certain things and tell her this is my issue, or this is the type of food I look for today. Or maybe I could talk to them about my special diet, or where I could find certain things. Because I know for me personally, COVID, it was hard, because I am a pescatarian due to medical issues. And I just cannot eat meat anymore. As much as I love it, I had to say to people, I can't eat that. If it's not fruit, fish, or vegetable, it's just not going to happen for me right now. And yet, there is nothing worse than when you go there and say that, and people don't listen, and they put bacon in your bag, and then they go, oh, I forgot, you can't eat bacon. So it's also listening for those special diets. Now, there is a such thing as a reasonable accommodation, of course, as we know, but people can also be unreasonable. But you have to definitely listen and be kind, so you can catch those unspoken, nonverbal cues that only body language can tell you. And it's just about, like you said, welcoming everyone. But I think seeing people with a smile and a warm, colorful environment, like, for example, we're in spring, so the pantry should be decorated with spring colors, purple, yellow, blue, because we want to bring people out that COVID depressive funk. You made it out the house to get here. You're amongst people now. So you can smile and you can dance and you can shake somebody's hand. You made it. So sometimes we have to replicate that and lead by example.
Thank you. That's a great reminder. I think we tie ourselves in knots, but sometimes the fundamentals are really the most important things in terms of, yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
So I have something to say. Rochelle, I'm coming from a developing country, and most of the people who are living with disabilities, they are facing a lot of challenges. Most of them experience stigma, discrimination, which makes them more vulnerable to food insecurity. And I know that we have a lot of immigrants who are also here in the US who moved, and they carry all those stigma in mind. I don't know what advice you can give them, because most of them are at home. They don't want to go anywhere. They don't want to, they don't have access and sometimes information about where to have access to food. I don't know what advice you can give to those communities.
Well, I definitely say, have you heard of On Our Own Maryland?
No.
That is a mental health peer-run organization. And the reason I'm bringing them up is because they do an amazing anti-stigma presentation about how to effectively serve your clients and work through the stigma. You might want to reach out and grab a few resources, but they are absolutely wonderful with that. But I definitely say when it comes to immigrant communities, it's each one, teach one. I'm going to share a story about a consumer. So a few years ago, I met this gentleman, and I've been working with him since 2013. But he came here from Cameroon, and he was very excited about being here. And he had been here a few years, but he got injured on the job and couldn't work anymore because he was working security. But he was still able to physically use his body on some level, even though he had a TBI. So he decided to be a personal care attendant, still, even with his disability. So he works on the weekends, but he receives his benefits. But while he was doing that, he was advocating to his consumers about all the work I had helped him to do at Independence Now, because we got him EID. We were also able to help him look for some housing. But the problem with him was he was being so friendly. He met someone. He actually ended up marrying. Here was another young lady from Cameroon, and now they have like 4 children. The family grew through that process, and it's like but he still says thank you, and he goes, I tell everybody about my Miss Rochelle. She's great. So it's that kind of thing. With those communities, it's gonna be about word of mouth, because what you do for one person, they'll share with the crow's friend, and it will continue to bring people in, because every time I turn around, there'll be somebody that calls me to say, yeah, Mr. John referred me to you. Can you help me too? Because they're all about close-knit communities and family and helping one another. And if you provide really good service, the word gets out.
Yes, that's true. Can you remind me the name of that organization, please?
On Our Own Maryland.
Okay.
And they do an anti-stigma presentation.
Okay.
It's actually on their website. If you Google them, it will come up.
Yeah.
They have a whole anti-stigma project.
Thank you so much. Any other contributions? I have a question. I want to know if SNAP and WIC, because you mentioned SNAP, right? You
Mhm.
mentioned SNAP here. SNAP and WIC accommodate the specific need of the disability community.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's my question. Do SNAP and WIC accommodate the needs of the disability community?
They do, but I'm gonna tell you, when it comes to the special things we need, you have to know how to advocate. So I'm gonna share another story with you. I have a friend, and she is disabled due to being a heart transplant survivor.
Mhm.
And as life happened, her son had an issue where they're from in Pennsylvania, and she had to move here in Maryland to get better disability services than where she was in Pennsylvania. And I helped her transfer her voucher from Pennsylvania to Maryland. And one of the first services she had to get coming from Pennsylvania to Maryland was SNAP. And then she also had custody of her granddaughter. So you're talking about a 65-year-old woman who's raising a 13-year-old. And 13-year-olds each you out of house and home, right? Because they're growing teenagers. And so she's like, well, what can I do now that we don't get that COVID surplus? They're saying my SSDI is too much and they only want to give me $20 a month. And I said to her, well, do they have a list of all your medical conditions? She said they should, but they may not. I said, well, go back and look through your paperwork, because you'll have to submit that and proof that you have custody of your grand. She was like, well, they know about my granddaughter. I said, but do they know specifically that you're a heart transplant survivor and you have to take certain foods and eat certain foods to survive on your anti-rejection drug so your heart doesn't get rejected by your body? She said, I never thought about that. I said, go home and submit all of that and ask for an increase. At first, when she submitted it, they said, we can only give you $10 more. And I said, well, we'll keep going. I said, don't just submit your diagnosis in your medicine, but have your doctor write a letter of medical necessity. So because I had her do all those things, she was able to file an appeal, and they're at least going to see if they can get her $30 more. So it's those kinds of things. It's one of those things where the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If they don't speak up, if you don't have it documented, then how are they going to know?
Yeah. Yeah, I know that you mentioned during your presentation that you do a lot of advocacy at Independence Now. And you also mentioned language barriers. We know that we have language barriers in our community here and everywhere. I would like to know if during your advocacy, you also advocate so that we have a lot of information in many languages. Because right now we see the information are in English, sometimes in Spanish, but we don't have other languages like Vietnamese, French, and Portuguese, etc.
It's funny how this just came up, because now they have this online resources in Maryland. There's Call Line. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but they've put out things in many different languages. And sometimes it just takes a call to say, we need it in this language. I remember one thing we were looking at, they said they had Mandarin, but nobody actually had Chinese. I said, well, there are many different dialects in China. You might want to put one more on there besides just Mandarin, you know? And so sometimes it takes making a call. Sometimes it takes writing multiple letters as a group, because they have really improved that. I know for the database we use to report data in SEAL suites, we have things in like at least 10 languages now.
Mhm.
And so, we as service providers have to put out the call and also have our consumers call.
Okay, thank you. Any other contributions? Yes, someone.
Hi, Rochelle. My name is Julie. I'm an intern here at Manna, and today's actually my first day for the most part. I just had a question about your cooking classes. If you could elaborate a little more on the attendance and how you get your attendance in your cooking classes.
So all that we do at Independence Now is goal oriented. Basically, someone calls us up and tells us what they need, and we decide at that point if it's just going to be information and referral, like a basic phone call, maybe a few questions, versus if they tell us a little bit more, if we're going to open a case with them and they're going to have a full file with goals. And so most of the individuals that attend our cooking classes are actual consumers with goals for cooking, for nutrition. And on a good day, we get about 10 to 12 attendees. The lowest we've ever gotten maybe is 4 to 7. But on a good day, if you have a good recipe going, everybody will pop up and say, I'm coming on. And it gets so inspiring because even with Zoom, you get the awesome idea where we don't just want to cook so you can see it. We want you to cook and follow along with us. So the fun part for me is when I start going and you'll get a consumer that says, well, I'm going to follow along with you today so I can try it. And the recipe I use, we do email out so that they can have it to try home. And we get attendance not only from our consumers, but because it's gone virtual now, sometimes we might just have someone from another seal or another state that said, oh, we saw this on your website, so we just wanted to check it out. So that's where the majority of our attendees come from. And I hope that you all can join me in June because this quarter to give me a break. We've been alternating, so each of the other staff are taking turns. But I'll be back in June, and I'm doing a grilling session for people with disabilities. How to grill with your George Foreman grill, your griddle, everything from salmon to vegetables to fruit. Because I grill peaches, and they're like, "You grill your fruit? How do you do that?"
Send us the link for those classes, please.
Well, you can register right on our calendar.
Okay.
As we put them up. So we usually put up the calendar for the next month 2 weeks in advance. But
Yeah.
I'll make sure you have it, no worries.
Okay, Rochelle. So another question is about those who do not have access to the connection to the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you do with those people?
So usually those folks, if we do something on Zoom, they call in. They'll get somebody to patch them on three-way, and it's always someone to patch them on three-way, and the one that has the camera takes notes.
Oh.
It is an interesting thing to watch because a lot of times that happens with my individuals that are blind and technology challenged, that they'll have a friend patch them in on three-way, and the friend that knows how to use Zoom will take all the notes with JAWS and Zoom checks.
Mm-hmm.
And then send the notes out via text.
Okay.
And sometimes if text works better, we do text things to individuals that don't have a computer.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to say thank you to everyone, but before we leave this space now today, I would like to recall the topics for the next 3 months, upcoming 3 months. So we'll be having the in-person session next month in May. I will send the invite out, and if you accept the invite, it means that you will be part of the in-person meeting. The topic will be around community-supported agriculture. And in June, we'll be talking about transportation and food access. In July, the topic will be around SNAP cut and community growth. And everyone who would like to be part of this conversation or being involved in the organization, please let me know, email me, and we will work on it together. I usually look at people who can be involved in the conversation so that we make it more interesting for everyone. And every time I will be sending emails and registration link so that you register first and you will get the link to join the meeting. Yeah. So we have 5 minutes left. I would like to hear from you or anyone what maybe the last contribution or anything that you will like us to keep in mind before you leave this place. Yeah, don't be shy, please. Say something.
That was for everyone, Agar. Sorry, I was.
Yeah, everyone. It's for
Okay.
everyone.
Well, this unfortunately doesn't have to do with the topic we were talking about today, but because you mentioned CSAs for next month, I think it would be great if we could somehow involve the Food Council and expand the invitation beyond just MANA. We've been hearing from some of our farm partners that they're seeing CSA enrollment dropping this year, and it'd be great to explore with a few partners to why that is and what we can do collectively as a community to promote CSAs, and possibly also invite Jenny Freeman from Community Farm Share, since CSAs are so central to what she does. So it was just, I'm making a commitment to work with you on fleshing out the in-person program for May, given the topic.
Thank you, Jenna. Any other last word?
I'd like to say
Yes,
one.
Carol.
Well, Rochelle, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
You're an inspiration, and you're very articulate. It's wonderful to listen to you and everything you have to say. So I really enjoyed that. I just had one thought. I was at the library this morning, and the Twin Brook Library, and I asked about what the manager was doing now, because they had a different manager, and they said, oh, he's downstairs teaching a computer class. I said, oh, and it was for people that knew nothing about computers, and they don't have computers, and they want to use the ones at the library. And I said, were they mostly older? And he said, yeah. And I didn't ask about if there were any people who had disabilities, but I'm sure there were. And then when you were talking about the cooking class being online, I just thought it would be cool if it was done through if the libraries picked it up. Like if they could have their senior computer class at the time that you're doing the cooking class. Of course, I guess they couldn't be cooking then, that would be the problem. But anyway, so I just had that idea that they could be there in a group watching it anyway. Maybe the library could figure out how to make it part of cooking too.
So yeah, they can watch. I mean, it's not mandatory that they cook. Some people do just watch to observe, because most people with disabilities are afraid of the stove if they haven't really cooked like that post-injury.
Yeah, so you watch and you get the recipe, and then maybe you'll try it. Anyway, so that was just a thought I had of seeing if the libraries would work with you on or at least some of the libraries in some of the neighborhoods on cooking classes, because also it would be fun for people to be able to do them together. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I welcome that. Feel free to, check us out and send the invitation out. You never know what kind of response you're going to get. So that would be awesome.
Okay. Thank you so much for everyone for coming. And thank you so very much, Rochelle.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were very happy to hear everything from you, and knowing that you are there, you are not far away from us. And anytime that we have someone who needs your help, I will direct them to you because I'm working in the community and I meet a lot of people with disability. So if I see that someone needs help, I will reach out to you directly.
Thank
so much
you.
for coming. And every time that you need to be involved, please let us know and we will be happy to have you join in the conversation.
The feeling is mutual. We love you guys anytime.
Thank you so much and hope to see you all, Carol, Jana, Sandra. Hope to see you next month.
Thanks, Agar. Thanks,
Lee.
Rochelle. See you around the
Bye-bye.
building.
Thank you so
right.
much, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.